Well, here we go. Another year and another Call of Duty released, and I potentially have post-traumatic stress disorder from the last one because you've already seen it in the thumbnail. I have done absolutely nothing but sleep on Black Ops 7. I made a review of Black Ops 6 going into the campaign, multiplayer, and zombies, and in that video, I said the story was so bad that I was going to make a full-blown breakdown and takedown of the campaign in its own video. And that video never came out. I wrote a 10,000-word script, about as long as my Red Dead 2 video, which was about an hour long, and it was so hateful and negative that I felt genuine conviction in my heart to not make it, thus resulting in this video. The first review I've made of a game I truly do not care about, only playing it because I could game share it off my friend, talking about just the campaign because that's all the energy I can give. I stopped midway through reviewing Death Stranding 2 for this, so Call of Duty Black Ops 7's campaign better be worth it in this spoiler review. It's not. The most apparent thing to me after playing through this campaign, and the one thing I want you to take away from this video above all else, is this. In World at War, the very first Zombies mode ever, Nacht der Untoten, was a side project for the developers they made for fun. Zombies was an asset flip of the campaign, but in Black Ops 7, the campaign is an asset flip of the Zombies mode. That is how much this series has changed. There were definitely signs of this happening since Cold War, with that game having a small Easter egg, and zombies being parts of key set pieces in Black Ops 6, my absolute least favorite part of that game. But oh, how far have we come. From Sergeant Frank Woods being part of a plot consisting of MK Ultra mind control during the Red Scare, to becoming a giant plant monster that looks like the final evolution of a Resident Evil villain. From Michael Rooker being a character, to becoming a giant shadow Rooker that you pump magazines into. From fighting actual soldiers, humans, to renamed vermin and parasites. And it's all preceded by the first boss fight against Menendez, which really sets the tone for the rest of the game with how he teleports around, has a giant health bar, and how you can trade throwing giant machetes out of the sky at each other. Remember when you used to need to take cover in Call of Duty games? Well, that's another big reason why I say this is a zombies asset flip. All the boss fights are about shooting a main target with a giant health bar that slowly chips away like they're from Destiny, while dealing with smaller enemies, and there are even some basic non-boss fight set pieces where you just kite the enemies around while shooting at them. It is the exact same design philosophy as a game mode a bunch of devs made by fooling around with assets almost 2 decades ago. So is Call of Duty just zombies now? No, part of it is, but you know how the last few games have all been played through the new Call of Duty launcher, making everything way more complicated than it needs to be? Well, that launcher shouldn't be called Call of Duty, it should be called Warzone, because above all else, everything is Warzone. A campaign built for co-op, loot boxes, shielding up, having multiple missions take place in one big area that feels like Outbreak from zombies, which, hey, felt like Warzone, which results in you having to drive 3 minutes out in a vehicle and having to walk that same distance if you die and respawn, because guess what? There are no checkpoints. And while this is more of a zombies thing, why are there weapon upgrade stations? They tried to make it feel important by having you finally reach gold during the last mission, but it makes it feel like complete fogression because you only need to upgrade weapons because the same basic enemies have been getting stronger and stronger. This campaign is flawed well beyond just context for what you're doing. It is designed to not be fun, even with just the simple things. Why did my friend get to play as Mason when I was hosting? We switched characters a few times because my other friends kept dropping in and out, so we went to the lobby a few times, and while they always got to be someone new, I was always relegated to 50-50. Who wants to play as 50-50? And the set pieces all just feel so bland and lack creativity. Wow, floating islands and rundown buildings. I've never seen this before. Good thing we have a grappling hook to use, except, oh, actually we don't in the one set piece that it would be useful, the one that takes place on Juneteenth with the highways that look like a Mysterio hallucination from Spider-Man 2. The one where you actually platform. And the ones that don't have a gimmick, that are just simple ideas, feel cheap and like they were cutting corners to stay in their budget. A budget given to them by a company that bought Activision for $69 billion. For example, reusing Hijacked for the story. Now, COD games have used areas from their campaigns as multiplayer maps for years, and that's fine. And I am absolutely okay with them bringing back a fan favorite, but that was clearly the priority. Hijacked was first and foremost brought back for multiplayer, and then they bent over backwards to find a way to put it in the campaign. And that may sound like a reach, except that they brought back a map from Black Ops 6 for the campaign, which was kind of the map of that game. Got a fucking headache. Alright, technical stuff. It looks great graphically, but that comes at the cost of cutscenes lagging, having super choppy frame rates, and weird buggy textures. Especially here, like they could have done some cool Alan Wake, Ratchet and Clank shit where they load 2 areas in at the same time, but nah, let's just use a PNG. And while the fidelity is high, that is just about what looks great, because there is no consistent art direction. I'm a sucker for contrast, particularly when the majority of an image is a dark, cooler temperature color with bright highlights. You can imagine how much of a sucker I am for Tron, so I did like seeing that kind of style style in Tokyo, but so much of this game is just what you've been trained to look at. Grungy browns and grays to highlight how serious of a game this is, as well as bright white so you know that this is the future. And the little details feel artificial, like how this dude who was stuck in the neck with a giant fire axe has no wound. This hanging dude must weigh a metric ass load because bullets won't make him swing, and less importantly, who is OpPack? What's he doing in my campaign? But enough about OpPack. Let's hear from the people I'm supposed to be hearing from, Black Ops 7's characters.
Bitch.
So that's about the peak of the characters, and I don't really know what else to talk about. They really do not have any character beyond what they do in the story, and when they do have actual development, it has nothing to do with the story at hand and are just kind of tragic backstories that they need to show, so we think they're super interesting, so let's just get into the story. I'm gonna do you a favor and give you guys what I wasn't given. Context. I have not played the campaigns for Black Ops 1 or 2, but hear me out and realize what I did, which is that A, you do not need to know those games to understand how bad this one is, B, this game is not newcomer friendly, and C, that I think I might understand Black Ops better than they do, because I know a rough outline. You know, Wood shot Mason, but he lives at the end or something, Vorkuta, Menendez is a doo-doo face, Reznov was real but a hallucination, and most importantly, the numbers Mason. I understand that plot point has genuine meaning and is rooted in something bigger, genuine MK Ultra mind control, not just spectacle, not just a fear gas induced giant Michael Rooker like they took notes from Arkham Asylum. But because Black Ops 7 is those things, it butchers the story. Yet they do all have brain chips or whatever which could keep them synced up, but the fact this is a co-op story makes it feel very convenient that all four of them are having the same hallucination. It's like when a Lego game is adapting a movie and needs to squeeze in a second character for your little brother to play as. I understood that Vorkuta had meaning. You know, it was about these prisoners uniting and organizing to lay down their lives so that some of them might live freely, dying standing so the rest don't have to live kneeling. And it wasn't just something you can point at and say, I recognize that! I recognize that! They turned Vorkuta into a Funko Pop, and I feel like given the opportunity, they would do that way more. The hallucination where Alex Mason fights David Mason only feels like they did a hallucination because time travel is too much of a reach, even for a series with 7 installments in one story, which is actually the 22nd installment of the greater franchise. But beyond all the ridiculous ideas, it's still just a boring story that's not remotely captivating. Just listen to the briefing for this mission. After delivering the guild data drive to Karma for decryption, Spectre 1 attempts to track down a guild insider who may have direct knowledge of the unknown toxin coursing through that. Damn it, all that future techie mumbo jumbo put me to sleep and I pissed the bed. Oh yeah, the guild is back from BO6, and when you find that guild insider, all he says is the cradle before dying, which tells them nothing. They have no new information, nothing changes. They just went from knowing there's a toxin to knowing what the toxin is called. That was purely for the audience, and it's so lame that the guild and the cradle, the villains and MacGuffin from a game that takes place in 1991, does not get taken care of until 2035. That plot point pretty much stays dormant for 44 years. And I want you to think about this. In the year 2025, the words Menendez was a deepfake are spoken. How are we still using that as a plot in 2025? And how is a special operative in 2035 still being tricked by that? David Mason gets tricked by the guild when they carry Fisher Raul Menendez and gets trolled with a hallucination of his dead dad, which leads me to one possible conclusion. In the Call of Duty universe, David Mason is a lol cow.
You go get that goddamn stuff off of there and fast.
I'm working on it.
Is Black Ops 7's campaign as bad as people are saying? Yeah, spot on. They might even be giving it more grace than it deserves, but here's the thing. Black Ops 7 is so bad that you kind of just giggle at their ideas, which makes me kind of like it more. It's like Madam Web, where you just gotta ask, what are we doing here? But Black Ops 6, I think, is worse because it's like the Venom movies where the ideas are much better, but just executed so poorly. And the ideas that are just bad are about the same in quantity as the good but poorly executed ones, instead of drowning them out, which is much more aggravating. Like, Black Ops 7 is bad, but it never even had a chance, while Black Ops 6, I think, is worse and more irritating because I could have liked it. I'm giving Call of Duty Black Ops 7's campaign a 2.5 out of 10, which I came to because I knew it'd be somewhere between a 1.5 and a 4, but I realized I'd sooner play this than Knack, but I'd rather play Arkham Origins Blackgate than this. And it goes without saying, do not buy this game for the campaign, and if you're thinking of buying it for more than that, like the whole package, well, I can't personally say if it's worth it. I'll say this. The friend I game shared this off of and played all the way through the campaign with me kept telling me over and over how he felt like such a jackass for buying a game that has AI-generated calling cards made by a company that was recently bought for $69 billion. So instead of buying this game and all the skins and shit, I'd probably just skip the middleman and know exactly where my money is going. Grok, guys, please buy an X subscription. Oh, please, oh, please.